Let's tussle. Oh, wait, hold on, wrong button. There we go. Let the tussling begin.
Oh, yeah.
Whoa, 1 base versus 2. No, 2 base versus 2.
JK.
Just kidding, guys. Messed up the cast already.
No problem.
It was Percival expanding just slightly later. Sometimes with these openers, there is like a little bit of a game of chicken where you want to see, okay, is this guy gonna, 1 base all in me? In that case, I might want to try to tech myself or expand later, something like that. It's going to be Blink Hunter versus Blink Hunter. And the techs are actually not entirely mirrored. We do have mortars on both sides. This can cause a little bit of gridlock in games. It's hard to push through one guy if you have a no man's land of mortar, just like you would in like a TVT, for instance. Cat Bus tech is available here for Percival with dragonflies. Very different tech here from Trigger, having mammoths and butterflies available.
I like the, I don't know if I like it, but I'm just curious about the fact that we do have advanced blinks in Percival's army, along with snipers, both on the advanced foundry tech. A nice little blink in from Trigger is actually going to catch Percival off guard a little bit. Actually going to get a lot of these workers, surprisingly a lot.
This is actually wild how much damage is being dealt over here. He has taken out almost every worker, all but 3. Sorry, no, all but 5. There's 2 at the patch above that have not been killed.
Yeah, very nicely done from Trigger. Suicides a lot of his units to do it, but I think that's a pretty well worth trade, getting that many workers.
Oh, I do want to point out, too, we have snipers on both sides. I thought it was snipers on just one side.
Mm-hmm.
So this feels like it could be a pretty tense game where neither player can bust each other if we do go into that double mortar path.
All right, blink forward from Trigger, trying to get on top of these units from Percival. It's pretty even here, though. It's not quite clear who's going to end up winning this, but it looks like Percival will get pushed back for now. I'm very curious what they end up teching into, if they tech at all, because, I mean, like we've said, a couple of these series so far, it's been a lot of core-only games. Surprisingly enough, not much tech from some of the players, so we'll see if either of them actually want to, and we'll have the first tech coming out from Trigger, going into the Foundry for the Mortar Destroyer. And also going to be matched with mortars from Percival. So we're potentially going to have a long stalemate game if neither player end up breaking each other. A little blink to the bottom side trying to get a jump on top of Trigger's army. Will be able to get some of it. And these fights are actually extremely close. It's very hard to see if any of these players is actually coming out on top in these exchanges. They look like just total trades, really.
Yeah, interesting interaction there. Percival, for a little bit on the far right side, has finally kind of maneuvered his army group over to the other side, but it seems like Trigger's just winning. He may be microing better in a way that's almost hard for us to see. He's got hunters and, blinks and blink hunters here. You want to spend some of those blue resources here so you can have just like a little bit more of everything, a bigger army overall, since the blink hunters do cost a little bit less of the red resource. And I think he's still winning this. I mean, this just feels like this tug of war that Trigger is going to take. Percival is getting pushed back. He's going to take advantage of the fact that there is a little bit of the expansion structure itself in the way here. This makes for an uncomfortable angle. It's hard to make a full line of units to attack here. And, this game could possibly be the most straightforward game of the entire tournament. If he can't overpower this, he'll lose. The mortars are going to come up here, but keep in mind, these are blinks. If they're high enough in number, you might be able to just blink on the mortar. And meanwhile, mortars here coming down from Trigger as well, looking to finalize the execution of this base.
Yeah, unfortunately for Percival, a couple of his mortars were actually stuck behind some of his other mortars, so they're quite slow to get to the front lines, and they're still not even in range to shoot down the mortars of Trigger, so he's just going to lose this third base slowly but surely. That's going to get killed off, and now the rotation from the blinks going into the left side, just blinking on top of the rest of the army. He has to be careful. There is a mortar in the back end, so that will do pretty decently there for now. And it looks like Percival is trying to tech straight into snipers to deal with this, but, I mean, sitting on only 2 bases while Trigger is going to be setting up on 4 very soon. This is surely going to be a losing battle.
Oh, he's just going to go right in here and take out these mortars. This should be over. I think you're never going to recover your third base. I think literally every mortar in this game has been killed other than the one at the expansion and this new one on screen now moving out. But yeah, 4 base to 2. No real answer. The tech is going to go up into snipers here for Percival, so he's going to have the ability to push there. The problem is that snipers are kind of slow And there's a lot of blinks here, so I feel like you could probably just blink into the snipers and kill them, right?
Yeah, the blinks do very good at that. You have to be very careful where you're positioning the snipers. I actually really like snipers. They're kind of a very fun unit to use. They're super slow, but the range makes them very satisfying to actually get them into the right positions. And it's a fun dance to go back and forth to try and keep them alive from getting blinked on and stuff like that. So I actually really like seeing that we're getting some sniper wars in this game particularly. It's a bit unfortunate that Percival is so far behind in the actual game, though. But you can just see how insane the range is from them. The blink forward of trying to get done, but it kind of mistimed from Trigger. Wasn't really in the best spot to actually get on top of all of those snipers. The mortar's getting some pretty decent shots as well, so has to be a little bit careful, trying to get a couple of his snipers of his own first, and then once those join the fray, I think Trigger will have a nice, easy time eventually pushing this farther back.
So this is, the advanced blink. I'm curious about this unit. I'm not very familiar with it myself.
Mm-hmm.
Why would he want this unit in this situation?
Well, it is big, so if they can get through to the mortars, then they could be pretty good. You can blink onto the mortars, and they won't get killed off instantly. But unfortunately, they are also going to get killed off. Or sorry, they're also big in themselves, so the destroyers are pretty decent against them.
Makes sense.
So it's a bit awkward still, because there are destroyers in this comp.
Well, we've got 4 bases up now here for Percival. He's done what I thought was impossible. So props to him for that. But he's still in a game of catch-up.
And it looks like Trigger's even just going to kind of run these units up to the top side, both to just threaten this 4th base, but also just kind of maneuver around the top with these snipers. You can see just how insane they are if you're well microing them well. They're just so difficult to actually get on top of. And now that he's got so many of them, he can just ignore. He doesn't even have to make mortars anymore. He can just literally just go full-on sniper because he's got so many of them. There's no way you can get on top of these units.
Oh, man, the pressure on the 3rd is here again. I will say the snipers make it a lot more complicated to advance into this position. The combination of the snipers with the mortars is pretty nice, but there should be enough destroyers here. He takes out that mortar anyways, pushes further in, and I don't think the space can stay alive for much longer.
Yeah, I'm surprised at how good the snipers from Percival are actually doing in these fights. I would have thought that the Trigger was kind of just going to mow over him much easier. Eventually, he's going to get there, but Trigger's getting a little sloppy with a little bit of his micro, running his snipers into mortar range and actually losing them as he tried to snipe down his opponent's snipers. So things getting a little bit close here, but I mean, we're losing still so many units overall, and Trigger's been ahead on the economy this entire time that if he just regroups a little bit, I think he should be totally fine to eventually close this out.
Yeah, Trigger's very close to crossing the finish line here. I'm surprised he hasn't sent even like a couple of blinks up to the top left.
Yeah.
There's really nothing defending there, but I guess a win is a win. And so that's going to be Trigger now taking game 1.
That was game 1 only?
Oh, wait, was that game 2?
Was that game 2 or game 1? Did I forget to update the score?
It must be game 2. What are we saying? Yeah.
It surely was game 2.
Yeah, game 2. Sorry, chat. I looked over and it said 0, and I'm like, oh, that's weird. I remember casting a game.
Yeah.
Nicely done. GG. Trigger looking so good here. It's wild.
Or wait, was that only game 1? Because they only told me ready once. Oops.
We've casted so many games in a row now.
That was only one game, right? Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, that was game 1. It lasted so long,
This
too.
is like
so
a
confusing.
thing. This has happened to me, too, when I've done GSL. Where, like, it'll be a best of 5, and it'll get to game 3, and I'll go, like, that was game 2. Or, all right. So that was game 1. Funny that we both did that.
Yeah, no, I could have sworn we casted another game. That's so weird.
Yeah, yeah. Well, we did have Trigger just recently,
Yeah,
right?
I guess so.
It's like the games are bleeding together. All right, so we're going to go into game 2 then. This is a best of 9. So you need 5 wins.
Yep. It's a lot of wins.
It's a lot of wins. It's
More
also a lot of losses when you lose. This screen.
Let me change this. Whoops. Oh, my God.
This is chaos.
We did it.
All right, so right now, Trigger up 1-0. Plenty more games to be had here.
Oh, a color swap as well from Percival. Going for the teal. I like it. I like that color. It's very nice. Just blinking back and forth for fun.
So it's Blinks again. We've got Shockers and Crusaders here for Trigger. So a very different looking comp. No mortars, by the way.
Yeah, everyone abandoned them.
But I'm curious how that will impact Trigger's role with the sniper later, if he even goes for that. Excuse me. Cat bus is a potential play here as well. Percival seems to be the only cat bus guy. Although I guess we had a couple games where Parting had cat bus tech. Yeah.
The Koreans are the cat bus people.
Yeah.
Instant tech into Foundry for Percival, going for the Mortar Crusader. And then we have the Starforge from Trigger for Mammoth Butterfly. I'm trying to think what this interaction will be like then, because it should then... So the Destroyers will be totally fine against the Mammoths, so there's no way you can go Mammoth as Trigger, which means you're just kind of stuck into going Butterflies.
Yeah.
But Blink Hunters are still pretty good versus Butterflies, and yeah, I don't know. Interesting. It's not even like his extra Starforge tech is good in this scenario either. I guess it might, yeah, I don't know. I don't know what exactly his plan is. I guess we'll see. Could just be a bunch of Butterflies and just trying to snipe bases. Oh wait, Butterflies, I always forget, they're anti-big, so they're good against Crusaders. I always forget this.
You know, when I look at Butterflies, I always imagine them as these units that just kill workers. And
they're also small, so they're also good versus Destroyers. Never mind. Okay, so Butterflies are just sick, apparently, versus this comp. Dude, I underrate Butterflies so heavily. I just keep thinking they're like the old patch where they're just absolute trash.
Because of the changes in the game, and you've sort of built up some kind of mental model of how they work.
Yeah.
Hold that thought. We're going to have a big push coming in here. The Butterflies are going to be out, so they can hit these Crusaders. He's got to be careful to try to stay away from the Recall Hunters. In the back, the Blink comes in. The Butterflies pull away.
Wow, actually keeping the Crusaders alive as well is pretty good from the Butterflies. And the Blinks focusing down the Butterflies will do very good at just snowballing this so heavily, killing off the third base. Percival going for a 2-base all-in with this tech. I mean, Trigger just getting his ankles blown out from under him. He's trying to go for that fast third base with the tech as well.
He's absolutely had his ankles blown out from under him, man.
So true.
Wow, that was quick.
Yeah.
All right, 1-1.
That's my kind of game.
So what is that, game 5? Like, what are we Sorry, guys, we don't know what's going on.
Oh, my God.
1-1, tied up.
That's my kind of game, man. I like my 2-base tech all-in, so I really
like it when their ankles get blown out. What from under? Is that what you said? That's quite a description.
Thank you, dude.
Yeah. So we're going to go to game 3 now.
His ankles. I'm thinking, I like mixed up the two different phrases of like your ankles. You like, what is it? You twist your ankle or something?
Yeah, yeah, twist your ankle.
You blow out your leg. I don't know. Like your legs get thrown out from under you.
I've seen, I've seen State do this too when he's casting, where he'll like combine two metaphors to be like a
super metaphor,
some kind of metaphor that doesn't make any sense. Where can you get the APM shirt?
Oh, what a question.
This is actually a paid actor in the chat. That's not a real person. You can go to tastelessthreads.com, my merch site. Thank you. I'll give you your $20 later. Thank you for asking me that in the finals of the tournament. Yeah, I'm trying to figure out the one that State did a couple times when we casted together. It was like he needed to shift gears, but then he was talking about like taking the wind out of his sails, and so something like he took the wind out of his gears. He said something like that. It actually made no sense.
The sails.
We're just like, what? Yeah.
Something that I do very often it's not quite a metaphor, but I just mix up two words that don't make sense together is definitely probably. I will say like, oh yeah, it's definitely probably true, or like that's definitely probably the right thing to do.
Definitely probably.
Which doesn't make any sense.
No, it kind of works,
No,
I think.
it definitely, like, you are 100% not 100%. Like, definitely is you're 100% doing it. Probably is you're maybe doing it.
You could be like,
You're definitely maybe doing something.
Yeah, I guess that's true. All right. No, you're definitely probably right about that.
Thank you. I know.
So it's Wasp versus Wasp. Both guys with Hornets, too. So one thing about Wasp Hornet comps is that they're really punishing if the other guy doesn't have Wasp Hornet. Like or something that can deal with the Hornets in the back. So in this case, I don't think there's going to be too much to be said about this. They're just going to have to tech out of it. Nobody has a clear advantage with this identical comp. We've had a couple games where people go Wasp Hornet, and you can just like chase down and overwhelm players when they start to lose fights.
Well, a couple Wasps getting.
Oh, never mind. He is going to go for it. I stand corrected. So 4 Hornets are going to come out here. I kind of assume in a game like this, why would you ever try to go for a lead when you're identical? But here we go. Now, the Hornets in the back, they do a little bit of extra damage. A little bit of a better arc here.
Yeah, the rest of the Wasps for Percival are actually segmented over to the right to try and get some harassment damage. And it looks like Trigger anticipated it, but was a little bit late on the anticipation. So they will get into the mineral line. Unfortunately, the rest of the units kind of bashing up against nothing over here. And actually, not many workers even getting killed by those Wasps on the right. So Percival a bit overstepped and now has some stingers that he's got to deal with. But he does have mammoths on the back end as well. And those are, as we know from some of the earlier games that we had today, very good dealing with the stingers, as the stingers do basically nothing versus them. And you're able to really beef out the fight to be just very difficult to actually lose. And now we're going to get a surround attempt from Trigger to get on top of everything. And maybe the Wasp count is just so high that we can just kill off everything anyways.
Yeah.
As the army is huge.
Yeah, the mammoths are now exposed on the outside. The stingers really can't be touched here. There's really no way to get back to them. You know, they seem to just be better positioned. And this is going to close this in. This game, I think, is actually done.
Yeah, old Falcons. Hold up.
Not so fast.
Yeah, you're right. They're not very fast.
There's something about the Battle Aces music playing that's like so sick, but then when you have it playing when Falcons are moving really slowly, you're like,
All right. Yeah, this ground army is really just not doing it for Percival here. The stinger count is a little bit too high at this point.
God, stingers murder mammoths. Look at that.
Yeah, I guess if you're allowed to actually get a large amount of them, the stingers do pretty decent. But if there's enough of a buffer in front of the or behind the mammoths, then the mammoths can actually stay alive for long enough. While the stuff is doing a lot of damage. Oh wow, that like blended into the mini map right there. That's a lot of workers. Wow.
Yeah, actually quite a bit of kills there. Maybe Percival still has a shot. The real issue is that the stingers are too fast for the Falcons to ever deal with, and there's really no way to protect a third and a natural expansion with the comp that he's got. Is this more mammoths here? He has 2 more mammoths, but again, I feel like it's just a failing composition versus this.
Yeah. He's going to try to target down some of those Falcons, but doesn't quite get it. But, I mean, the army size in general is just so insane right now for Trigger. I guess there are a couple more extra mammoths coming in, so you got to be a little bit careful. You got to actually trim down the Wasp count before he can take a full engage. And he will start to try and do that. As you can see, he's not really actually going for the full fight just yet. He's really just kind of trying to get these Wasps to go a little too far forward, kills them off, and then tries to go in for a big swooping attack. Getting on top of absolutely everything is Trigger, and the army is melting for Percival. And so are his hopes for this game, as it's going to be a 2-1 so far for Trigger.
GG. Young Trigger. Looking so good. Showing so much promise. Great game by him. Definitely seemed to understand that deck matchup very well.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, it's funny for us. I'm sure for you guys at home, like you're probably running certain comps if you've been in the beta. And so, like, some of these matchups, I go, oh, okay, I kind of know this. I've played, you know, with these units, or I've struggled to beat this. And then, like, for instance, Stingers, I don't really use, but they seem to be extremely strong.
Yep. I think, provided that you just don't have enough, like, backline to be able to DPS with the mammoths, then they can do a pretty good job. And if you obviously can get enough of them alive, then obviously that's going to be good. They seem to be a bit of a critical mass unit where just a few of them don't really do too much, but once you get like 6, 7, 8, then it's like super insane.
Well, they're so fast as well when you pair them with Wasps, where it seems like you just chase down everything. You know, it's funny, like when I was looking at Wasps, I didn't like them as much just because they didn't scale as well, but it kind of doesn't matter because they just get in the way and let your bigger units deal damage or surround retreating units. And so you kind of snowball advantages in that sense.
Yep.
Okay, we're waiting to get Percival into the game here. We're going into Game 4. I think we might need to run one more break after Game 5 just so we don't get bumped by ads.
True. All right. Wonder if he was swapping out his deck or anything. Curious to see if we have any differences.
They can change their deck after every match they play. Obviously, this game, you know, it's in beta right now, so I don't make the rules for tournaments, but I could imagine. Sorry, wrong button. Oop. I could imagine a world where you could have deck bannings or banning certain units from decks. You know, you could have something like they have in Dota. Where, you know, there's pick bans.
I really did want to kind of experiment with that a little bit because I feel like there are a lot of opportunities for that play, for that type of format to have interesting plays in the games. Because obviously, then it kind of forces you out of certain things, forces different units into the meta that maybe wouldn't have been used as much comparatively. So, yeah, I'm curious to see what kind of pick ban phase meta maybe evolves in some of these tournaments because I think there's a lot of room for that.
So this game, identical comps to start. Sometimes I say, like, well, it probably won't lead into anything, but we have seen games where it's like, this guy's going to try to come across here, just kill a couple workers and leave. Take that advantage. All right, this is a game, by the way, both sides have mortars. It's going to be Dragonfly versus Butterfly. Cat Bus available here for Percival. Mammoths as well, with Destroyers here for Trigger. What is this unit called again? This one right there? Valkyrie, thank you. How is that unit? Thank Yuri.
They're very good anti-air. All right.
Okay, it's going to be 2-base Blink versus 3-base Blink. So the money that was spent on the third base should be the deficit in Blinks here that will allow Percival, in theory, to try to push through here.
And we're also utilizing the Blink Hunters as well from both players to try and get the extra units out, trying to use all the resources possible in an equal way to be able to have just so many units. And we're going to try to, actually blinking forward yet again on all of Trigger's units, trying to get anything DPS down, trying to focus fire some of them as well, even focus firing the Blinks specifically to reduce the DPS. Obviously, Blink Hunters have overall less DPS than the normal Blinks. So very nice move there from Percival. Just relentless with this pressure. His army supply continues to be very, very high for him, considering he has not gone for a third base. Yeah.
Blinks in again. Is this an overextension? Some of these units are pretty softened up. No blink here yet for Trigger. He's going to try to blink away individually the weaker ones. Percival continuing to pull through here. He's got this rallied right up to the starting location of all the attacking units. Stutter Step Micro forward here. Wow. No blink just yet. Going to regroup.
The third base is now set up with workers from Trigger, so Percival has to be very careful here, because if he doesn't actually kill this, then this 2-base all-in is going to really start to hit a wall, because the units are just going to be able to get reinforced much better from Trigger, and I think moving down to actually kill this is absolutely the right play. We'll be able to get that, and should be able to commence the snowball yet again.
Yeah, he's going to be able to push forward here. Now, there was a little bit of time in that third base, mined some resources. The math for me is a little bit fuzzy on like how that works out, but you can see now that Trigger seems to have enough, so that did pay off. Remember, you get units in Battle Aces basically like in real time when you have the money. Yep. So if you just get a few more resources, you pour that right back into the whatever you want to make, and you've got it, right?
Yep.
They basically cut out the downtime for building a building to make it, or the downtime to build the unit itself inside where the building would be.
Yep. You can see Percival's kind of waiting out exactly what he should be doing next. I think he is fine with the position that he's in, but he's not really sure what to do with his money just yet. He's not sure if he should tech, if he should expand, or if he should just keep making only core units, because he's not quite sure if Trigger's maybe going to go for an all-in. I think they're both in this similar situation of not being exactly sure what tech the other player is going for, or if someone's going to all-in. It looks like Percival will be the first to break the stalemate, going for his Starforge for advanced recalls and Dragonflies, and then it's instantly met with the Starforge of Trigger on the other side.
Okay, so he basically camps a third so he can just damage it and spot the moment it comes out. A blink in. Kind of a bad angle, though. Pretty good surround here. Trigger dives in again. Reinforcements come back. They come in, and they get a really good surround. It's going to be a painful stutter step micro back out of this.
Yeah, I think that was a bit too overeager for Trigger. I think he should have been pretty fine with keeping that third base set up in front of himself instead of trying to dive deeper, because now he's starting to lose the snowball yet again as Percival is relentless with these blinks, and that's going to be that. Trigger folds, and we have a tied series.
Wow. Very different game, by the way. There, It's funny, like it's a lot harder than it looks to push through that with like 2-base versus 3-base.
Yeah.
Like you really micro in Battle Aces. I mean, it's really fast. they did not like turn down the game speed.
Oh, yeah.
When they made this. So like you have to really know how to move into certain areas and optimize the damage and know when to like target like an individual unit versus like try to blink out your own units.
Yep.
But yeah, the way he powered through there, and then maybe he was a little bit too greedy at the end there. But seeing the push with the blinks was pretty impressive.
Yeah, again, this is like something that I'm
Did you update the score, by the way?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
It's something that I'm not as used to because, again, I'm not going for these super heavy blink hunter attacks. Like, I actually didn't even realize that how good it is to add in the blink hunters into the blink
I didn't know about that at all.
Maximize like maximizing all of the amount of units you can get makes for these very lethal pushes. So it's quite interesting to see just how good they can actually be.
Yeah, it's funny too. Like we both had the same way of kind of looking at this game. I thought the exact same thing. You would never make these units unless there's air.
Yeah.
But no, actually, you can get a little bit more out, and that can allow you to swing a situation where one player is being greedy and the other one, if they just optimize how they pour that cash into units, they could take a fight that otherwise you wouldn't be able to do.
All right, what are the unit swaps we got here? We got Assault Bots coming out from Percival. We got King Crab Swift Shocker, which is a bit interesting. Actually, very interesting. Double Splash unit on the Foundry tech is kind of cool, which is going to get... I feel like... no, I guess mortars don't do well against those, but obviously you have destroyers. I wonder how Swift Shockers do against Destroyer Mortar.
That's a good question.
Because, I mean, the problem with usually is that you can't really get to the back line of the mortars, but Swift Shockers are pretty fast.
Yeah, they can run around them. You know, you have counterattacks that you might be able to kill workers in a way that you just could not in other situations. But yeah, it does seem like this would be a little bit tricky to go head-to-head with. But he's not going to go for Swift Shockers. He's going for Dragonflies and Advanced Recalls here.
Is it going to just be... Well, I guess it's got to be Dragonflies, I think. Well, I guess maybe not. It could just be Recalls, because we saw how crazy the Advanced Recalls were in those straight-up fights.
Yeah, the Advanced Recalls, I cannot believe how good they are.
Yeah.
And it's funny, because they look like normal Recalls without the shell.
Mm-hmm.
But they've got so much more damage.
Yeah, I'm kind of just waiting to see what he makes. It is going to be the Advanced Recall, so he is just going to go for a big 2-base attack with the crazy DPS of these Recalls.
Advanced Recalls are painfully slow. It's interesting to see that he went for Blink Recall, Advanced Recall, sorry, and not Recall Advanced Recall.
Yeah.
I'm curious about that. Maybe because you need something that can blink back to defend?
I think he just maybe likes the overall maneuverability of the blinks. I think he just is a big fan of that. We're going to have basically a base trade situation here as Trigger's just going all the way around. They're going to try to get into the natural. The Recalls are trying to be... oh, wow. They just
I feel like this is doing horribly.
Yeah, just the blinks versus the Advanced Recalls is not going very well. You definitely need a bit more buffer with them, it seems like, as all the blinks were still across the map, not able to come back with them. So I guess... if you do have Recalls and Advanced Recalls together, the bonus is that you can have them all together, and I think that's when they really do shine, it seems like.
It doesn't feel like there's a lot of symbiosis with these units. That doesn't mean that it's bad, but it is kind of glaring when you look at how things can move around here, where some things are running across the map blinking, other things are slow but can recall to places. Seems like it's easy to get out positioned, and that's kind of the story so far in this game. Trigger on 3 bases, again, but... it doesn't feel to me like Percival's really put himself in a better spot because of this. And I think a lot of what he tried to do basically worked, right? But it's the recovery that's been painful. And, with the 3rd base about to repopulate with workers, it just seems like Trigger can continue to come in here. And if he doesn't advance through this spot, he'll at least keep enough pressure to where a 3rd seems unimaginable.
I'm still just so amazed at how good just Blink Hunter is. Like, I can't believe how much damage he's actually able to do with this.
Yeah.
A single Dragonfly trying to do something, and that's going to get thwarted away very easily. I'm just expecting, like, yeah, surely you have to tech, right? Like, you can't just keep going Blink and Blink Hunters.
It does feel like this is a game where Percival maybe have, like, zoned himself out of getting out of this hole that he's kind of dug himself in, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's a pretty loose, pretty relaxed spot right now for Trigger. He just has to kind of continue to kite and trade, you know, I guess reasonably here. You know, over time he's drinking in more resources on the map so he can spend more, so this should just accumulate over time. Now we've got an angle that's just absolutely horrible here for Percival. This will probably be the end of the game.
Yep, looks like it. The advanced recall is trying to get used to defend, but they're in very low number. And it seems like the Blink Hunter combination from Trigger continues to be so oppressive.
You know, Blink just seems very good against advanced recalls too, because advanced recalls don't have a lot of range. So you kind of just stay back and hit the front, and then you just dive in. See, like the recalls, they haven't shot.
Yeah.
And then he goes, oh,
bam.
I was going to make a sound. He didn't even do it. He didn't even do it.
All right, 3-2 for Trigger.
Okay, so Trigger looking extremely strong here. Really kind of a funny situation from Percival. It seems like he said, he did his push. The idea worked. He got the third base, and then he wasn't able to recover his own base and get a third up.
Yeah, because you only can recall half your army, not the whole army. So he just doesn't defend the natural.
Undeniable fact that recall is so painfully slow.
Yeah.
Normal recalls, advanced recalls that like I've had these games where occasionally I'll just fraction off. We're gonna go to a break, so don't tell them we're ready to go.
Oh, true.
Where I'll fraction off like 2 destroyers and just go kill a whole base with it, and it happens so fast. But those destroyers are dead to me.
Yeah.
When I send them out, they're not my core comp that I'm trying to get back. And it seems like, again, this game is really new and there's going to be changes and stuff. But I am noticing this theme where, like, man, Blinks can do a lot more in these situations if done well versus recall, which is a very specific type of matchup.
For sure.
Guys, we're going to run some ads and take a break so we don't get bumped here. But stick with us. This is a best of 9, the finals of the Tassel Tussle 2, where we will be crowning a champion between Trigger and Percival. We will be right back, guys. See you in a second. We've had these air fleet games where cat buses kind of snowball it. We've had push timings with mortars. We've had kind of low tier, low tier, kind of slow. Like they both go on to 3 bases, but they're, you know, one guy's got wasps and recalls to try to push out that way. I don't know. It's just fun. You know, 1 base all-ins. A lot of different ideas at play here. It's been fun. Certainly, we are learning this game as you are. So it's been cool to just kind of, I don't know, watch the best players who are currently playing teach us how the game can be played. I know for both you and me, it was cool to see like recalls. Hunter units like Blink Hunters, Blink Recalls.
Yep.
Blink Hunters, Recall Hunters. I can't talk.
I was just kind of going with it. I was like, he's going to get his point eventually. I'll just kind of let him get there.
Give Grandpa some time here. He's going to figure this out. Anyways, in this game, it's going to be Blinks and Blink Hunters here. So 3 base to 2. We've got tech coming, Dragonfly, and advanced recalls.
So it's going to do the same thing, exactly the same thing. And it obviously didn't work the first time, so has he realized something that he could change? Did he just maybe think he messed up the last game?
I'm really curious about this. Like, what does he think he needs to adjust?
Maybe just not go for the counterattack or the attempted snipe on the 3rd and just kind of sit it back more. Just like maybe build up a larger army and then just slowly take the 3rd base and then just kind of outscale with a bigger army, perhaps, is the play.
Maybe.
Because I think the big problem was when he tried to go for the kill on the 3rd and then he just recalled half his army and lost half the army. And then
he lost all the advanced recalls specifically. The thing now, when I look at the situation, is that it seems like Trigger can just keep counterattacking.
Oh, it was an insta-cat bus tech. That's the switch. Oh, the super tech up into the cat bus.
Okay, I do like the cat bus play. He's going to have advanced recalls here, too. So this is an extremely different game. I was going to say, because if he tried to do some kind of recall push, the position's almost flipped on its head where Trigger could keep counterattacking because of how ahead he is. So he needs to not spend any more of the blue resource, the Kim resource, and only spend the David resource.
Yeah, save up all that Kim.
Yeah.
Keep his David low.
Yeah. You get a couple of Kim buses that way. So position is kind of easy to play from here. It's going to be a question of, you know, did he economically dish out enough, Trigger in this case, to defend the cat bush push? Because I think you can still beat this. Oh my god, this angle is so bad. Look at how much wider it is. The expansion structure actually gets in the way. So already kind of an unfavorable fight, and one where Trigger should just have a little bit more here as far as blinks go.
First cat bus is out for Percival. Second one as well. So now it gets a little bit interesting, trying to send these across the map. One of them actually looking like it's going to be trying to go for harassment, but then it gets stuck by the blinks, but luckily is still very healthy, so will only lose about half of its health, then sends the other one up to try and do the harassment.
Could he intercept this, maybe?
I think it's too fast now.
Yeah.
He can't quite get it.
2 more cat buses down here. If he can come... You can remember, you know, these are blinks and not recalls, so he can actually just, if he gets up there, kill all the workers. It's not like there's an instant defense mechanism.
Yeah, and he's using all of his things like on, like literally just the amount of money he gets every single time.
Yeah, he's dumping resorces.
Yeah. So he's not going to have too much at home to defend against this potentially, although he did save up just a little bit.
Okay, here we go.
He's got a few blinks. We'll be able to do a little bit of damage here. Just a single cat bus isn't going to be the craziest damage, I guess. But it does force all these units to stay back home.
I don't feel like this is going as well as it should.
Yeah.
How many cat buses back at home? He's got 4. So there does seem to be this moment where you get like enough of these things that it kind of snowballs fights. He is going to come in here and defend the third, so things are kind of balancing out here. Cat buses are going to move in. It's actually a confusing blink.
I know,
so
like,
they both blinked into
back.
their own spots or whatever?
Yeah, that was weird. Anyways. Oh, forward blink from Trigger trying to get on top of these. Unfortunately, is only... I mean, the cat buses are honestly so beefy.
He needs to take the weak one and pull it over to the side here. I think he's getting way too punished by Blink.
Yeah, that's 2 cat buses dead really quickly, and they were very low health, so able to jump on top of them. Another one getting focused down. Everything on the ground is getting evaporated by Trigger. It's just full-on Blink Hunter. You don't need tech units, apparently. It's insane. He's able to just break everything. I mean, Percival's got to switch something up, man. This is just not working.
Man, the cat buses were crushed, including the one that was back in the main. GG. Couple thoughts.
Yeah.
I don't know about the one cat bus sent around.
Yeah.
I feel like you got to kind of turtle and then push. I don't know. You kind of see the idea of the strategy, but then you see the problems with it too.
Yeah,
you know?
I'm going to go back to the whole we haven't seen enough shockers point. I feel like what?
No, it's like was this like a big theme in our cast?
No, something I mentioned before where I felt like there's not a lot of shockers being used, like any types of shocker units.
It's a good point.
If we're just massing the small core units, isn't that like the best? Like, I mean, recall shockers are extremely good. Sturgeon was using recall shockers a lot in a lot of his ladder games. And it's just like, so you cannot jump them. The range of them is insane.
Yeah.
You can just recall through the different bases. So even if they're jumping bases with blinks or whatever, you just recall the shockers there, and they just evaporate them. Like, I don't know. I feel like the shocker tech tree is not being used very much overall.
I feel like that cat bus strat can work, but I think it was almost like he went just too much the straight, like, I'm going cat bus, try to stop me. And the other guy's got so much time now to try to just...
And the guy's like, okay,
he's literally,
I'll stop you.
In the game, you're watching their tech little clock tick up, so you're like, okay, you see the one unit that they're teching into. There's no mystery there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I don't know. I really think we need a big switch up from Percival. This has not worked 2 games in a row.
Oops. Sorry, camera's dying out.
Go off into the ethers.
Yep. This is unfortunate. My camera's been dying out here. Been troubleshooting to try to make it stop turning off here. Sorry, everybody.
That's okay. We're going in a game anyway.
We're going in a game now.
Do we have a switch? We do. So it's going to be Blink Hunter with Locusts.
Okay.
We've got no shockers. I'm so sad. We do have snipers, mortars, still the advanced recalls. Huh. Curious what his play is going to be here. I'm really wondering what the Locust switch is for. Because it's not like Trigger's going for air. Huh.
Yeah, let's see.
Maybe it's to deal with like a potential if Trigger goes into Starforge, he has something to deal with the. I guess that they are very good against mammoths and butterflies.
By the way, guys, this is a best of 9, so if Trigger wins this, it's over.
Yep.
Best of 9 means you win 5 games and you're done. So Percival really needs to fight back and fight back hard.
Yeah, he's put everything onto this final deck, made a couple of small adjustments, and we'll see if it's enough to actually find himself to stay alive in this series. It's been all Trigger. It's been all Trigger and all Blink and Blink Hunters.
Yeah. It's interesting when you see the kind of definitive deck or comp when you get to the finals, right? Like everything's on the line.
Yeah.
They do not want to deviate away from Blinks. Okay, so it's 3 base to 3 base right now. No tier 2. Oh, excuse me. Tier 2 tech just now starts for Trigger. It's going to be the Destroyer Mortar tech. Over on Percival's side, he is teching into mortars. That's the lone unit inside that composition.
And surely he's going to be trying to go up to snipers, is my guess.
I think so.
He's going to just try to sit on...
Probably get 3 mortars, set up camp, and then probably tech into the snipers. But, you know, there's sniper tech here for Trigger as well. So, you know, in my experience, when I see my opponent has mortars as well, I'll try to tech around it and just not engage with it. But it's cool to see how these guys are going to handle this because, yeah, what do you do if you both go into mortar and then sniper?
Yeah, I do like to go into the sniper versus mortar. It's very, I like that engagement. The problem is, of course, getting there is more my problem, especially since I like going recalls. It's very difficult to make space for myself to like get into that tech. So I'm curious to see what they end up trying to go for here. I mean, going for Blink with Percival is going to make it a little easier potentially to move around and potentially delay Trigger to give him space for the fast sniper, but it looks like Trigger is just going to go for it first anyway, so they're both agreeing to the sniper wars. This is interesting.
Okay, he blinks in again. Up at the top, we've got 1 mortar. He's going to try to push. The angle is a little uncomfortable here. That mortar kind of locks out Blinks from moving in there. He's going to be able to hit this 4th base. Counterplay could be the 3rd base here in the middle, and that's exactly where he's going to go.
I kind of like this for Percival, honestly. Trading a 3rd for a 4th feels better because it's forcing all of these workers that were already established to be killed off. And then it just kind of gives us an easier leverage point down to the 4th base anyways, whereas the 3rd is just generally we like to have this secured as the player. Oh, I love that move from Trigger, putting 1 blink forward to tank the shot and then blinking everything else afterwards.
That was so good. I'm really impressed with that. So he takes this out 2 base to 2 right now. Their armies are kind of in the opposite positions you'd imagine, right? So nobody can take a 3rd. You do not choose where you take your 3rd base in this game. It is automatic.
Oh my god! I think this is actually good for Percival. I feel like well, I guess he blinks on top of the snipers pretty quickly, but the rest of the army on the top was able to clear out the mortars in the middle, and then he's able to come down and kill off all those other blinks. And it's literally just snipers now for Trigger. He's got to be very careful because he can easily get overwhelmed by a huge amount of blinks. I think losing the mass amount of snipers is not actually as bad as it initially feels. Maybe it is actually pretty bad because then it means the other player can just set up mortars again, and then you're giving them the time. They then can buy time for themselves to get the rest of their blinks back up.
This does feel a little bit better right now for Percival. Like he's got a little bit more resources. Trigger has a base, but can he not push in here? I feel like he might just barely have enough.
He's trying to get his mortars set up first before he going into it, and he needs to have his snipers to try and snipe down some of these mortars as well.
Yeah, he could try to counterattack. I feel like if you see this many mortars over here, you could always send a couple blinks around.
Oh, I kind of like that. He blinked 1 advanced blink forward to tank more of the shots and then gave himself some room, but there's just so much from Trigger. I mean, the damage from these snipers is insane. He's got so many of them. I guess this is the problem of losing all those snipers in the middle. Sure, the trade was good, and you ended up having way more blinks at the end of the fight, but he didn't actually have an opportunity to go and punish with that larger blink count right away. So now he's seeing the result of that, and he's being completely outranged by all the snipers. Yeah, you made a really good point. You setting the advanced blink in there first to tank, and then trying to come in there and snipe, but it backfired. Now it's 3 base to 2. On every metric, Percival is down. I would imagine he will fail in this next attack and probably tap out. Yeah, this is looking pretty bad for him. He only has, what, 2 snipers in this army, whereas opponent, what does Trigger have? He's got like 8 or something.
I think
like
he
that.
can literally just overwhelm it with snipers alone.
Yeah, I think he's just being cautious because he knows that he's 3-2 and he has no reason to really push it. But if he wanted to, he could easily just slow push this with his snipers. There's nothing to be able to deal with them. Sure, the advanced blinks are forward and can soak up some shots, but you can't actually do anything with them.
Okay, he's coming in. This should be the closing moment of this game. GG! Trigger is the Tassel. Tussle. 2!
Do!
Champion! GG! GG! He's holding the trophy.
He's just like that little crab in the overlay that's holding that little trophy up, man.
That's right. This was fun. I gotta say, Trigger really impressed me, man. He played like extremely well. He had a very tough bracket, and he did it. Final score was, what was it?
5-2.
5-2, right? Yeah,
pretty dominating victory.
Very impressive.
A lot of those wins also didn't even really look close.